The ticket collector reported for work promptly at 12 noon, Mr. Holmes. And your theory about the woman proved to be correct.
The woman, yes, quite so. Yeah.
The one in Maidstone? She's not his married sister?
Well, I didn't inquire as to that, sir. I meant the theory about the strange lady. She arrived on the 10:43 from Chatham yesterday morning. The ticket collector was able to give us a pretty good description. Smartly dressed, close-set eyes, and wearing a gold pince-nez.
Well done, Holmes. You were absolutely right.
What's more, she was on her way to this house. She asked for directions.
I see, thank you.
Well, you must feel a little gratified, surely.
Why? It's no more than I expected. Yes, Susan, what is it?
Would you care for a little more beef, sir?
Thank you, no. By the way, do you happen to know if Mr. Smith left the house at all yesterday morning?
Yes, sir, he did. He went out for a walk. He said he wanted to make the most of the weather because the barometer was falling.
Was he out for very long?
No, sir, not long. And he got back about half an hour before... before it happened.
Yes, thank you, Susan. Thank you very much indeed. Well, it's 2 o'clock. Let us go and have it out with our friend the Professor.
Come in, gentlemen. Mr. Holmes, may I offer you another cigarette?
No, thank you. I think I've smoked enough for one day.
As you wish. And what have you to tell me? Have you solved the mystery yet?
Yes, I have solved it.
Good heavens. Solved it? While you were strolling in the garden? Over lunch, perhaps?
No, I solved it in this room. A moment ago.
Now, if you're joking, Mr. Holmes, I must tell you this is too serious a matter for flippancy.
May I reconstruct the case for you? There's a little information I still require. You may be able to provide it.
Well, I cannot imagine how, but of course, anything you wish to know.
Well, let me tell you what I know already. Yesterday morning, a lady entered your study with the intention of removing some documents from your bureau. She had her own key. Now, when you were good enough to let me examine your key, I did not find those marks upon it which the scratch on the keyhole would have produced. Therefore, I deduce that the lady came here without your knowledge in order to rob you.
Oh, this is most interesting and instructive, but what became of your mysterious lady who appears to have vanished?
She was discovered by your secretary, and in her frenzy, she stabbed him. Horrified by what she'd done, she fled from the room, but during the struggle, she had lost her pince-nez, and being very short-sighted, she was helpless without them. Instead of turning into the right-hand corridor, heading for the back door and the garden, she went the other way, with coconut matting in both corridors. It was an easy mistake to make. When she pushed open the door in front of her, she found herself in this room.
It's a fine theory, Mr. Holmes, with one small flaw. I was in this room all day and never left it.
Yes, I know that.
Perhaps I was asleep at the time? Otherwise I could hardly fail to be aware of a stranger entering my room.
She was not a stranger to you, and you were aware of her. You spoke to her. You helped her to escape.
Are you mad? I helped her to escape. Where is she now?
Perhaps you'd be good enough to leave your hiding place, madam, and join us.
No, I must insist that... The bookcase!
Good gracious.
You are right, sir. Perfectly right. I am here, and I am your prisoner.
My dear lady, won't you come and sit down? I'm afraid you're far from well.
I am well enough to tell you the food. Oh, excuse me, I did not see the footstool.
Allow me to return your pince-nez to you, madam.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You know so much already. You have discovered the truth, and I must own to everything. It was I who killed the young man. In my terror, I snatched up the first thing that came to hand and struck at him. I did not know it was a knife. That is the truth. I swear it.
Please, madam, be seated.
Here.
Be seated.
There.
Now,
Thank you.
take time to compose yourself. We are in no hurry.
I am obliged to you, gentlemen. And I wish that you should know my story. I am a Russian. And so is Sergius. His full name, I will not tell you.
Oh, thank you, Ella. I am in your hands.
But why should you cling so hard to your wretched life? It has done harm to many and good to none, not even yourself. I am this man's wife. He was 50 and I a foolish girl of 20 when we met. He was my tutor at the university. I will not name the city.
May we know why?
Sergius could be traced. I should not wish that.
Oh, thank you, my dear.
Yes, very well. Now, please continue.
We were revolutionaries, anarchists. He and I and many more. Then came a time of great trouble. A police officer was killed. Many were arrested. And to save his own skin and gain a reward, this man betrayed his companions and his wife also.
No, it was a misunderstanding.
We were arrested. Some of us went before the firing squad. Some, like me, to Siberia. I was fortunate my term was not for life. Sergius fled to England and has lived here quietly ever since, knowing that if the Brotherhood learn where he is, justice will surely follow.
No, but I trust you, Anna. You were always good to me.
Let me finish. Among our comrades, there was one who was the friend of my heart. He was noble, unselfish, loving, all that my husband was not. The others were ruthless and dangerous men, but Alexis was not. He hated violence. He wrote many letters to me, trying to dissuade me from our plan of action. Those letters would have saved him. And so would my diary, where I poured out the secrets of my heart, my love for Alexis, my hatred of Sergius. When we were arrested, my husband here found the diary and the letters. He hid them and lied to the police, swearing away the young man's life. Alexis was sent to Siberia, where he remains to this day, working in a salt mine. Think of that. Alexis lives like a slave while the life of Sergius is in my hands. And I am letting him go.
You were always a noble woman, Anna.
Yeah. When I was released, I followed him to England. After months of searching, I discovered where he lived. I knew he had the diary and the letters, and I was determined to find them. I employed a private detective who entered this house as a secretary. Yes, your second secretary, Sergius, the one who left so hurriedly. He refused to steal the documents for me, but he made an impression of the key to the bureau and a plan of the house. So I came to find the documents myself. I had just taken them from the drawer when the young man discovered me. A little earlier I had met him, walking in the country lanes. Never guessing who he was, I asked him the way to this house.
Exactly. Smith returned and told you, Professor, about the lady he'd met. That is why, with his dying breath, he tried to send you a message that it was she. The she you'd been discussing.
When I found myself face to face with my husband, I told him that if he handed me over to the law, I would give him up to the Brotherhood. For that reason alone, he agreed to shield me. He introduced me to that dark hiding place and showed me the trick of the lock.
It is a relic from the religious wars, a priest's soul, known to no one but myself.
Since he takes his meals in this room, he was able to give me food. It was agreed that when the police abandoned their inquiries, I would slip away by night, never to return.
But now the inquiries are concluded, and I fear that your circumstances have changed. The inspector has to do his duty.
I'm sorry, madam. I must warn you, you are under arrest. You will accompany me to London to make a formal confession at Scotland Yard.
I am ready to do what must be done.
No, Anna, wait.
Farewell, Sergius. And may the God in whom you do not believe have mercy upon your soul.
Although you do not know us, madam, my colleague and I will be happy to present your case before the authorities.
The death of Smith was accidental. We can testify to that.
No, I do not know you. But I know you are good men, and I trust you. That is why I ask you to take charge of these documents. The diary, the letters. These will save Alexis. I confide them to your honor and your love of justice. You will deliver them to the Russian embassy for me. And this is all that must be done.
But, madam, you will need these documents as evidence in your own defense.
I need nothing. Please do as I say. These are my last words.
Watson! Hopkins! Stop her!
Dear God.
It's a simple case, yet in some ways an instructive one. It turned upon pince nez, of course.
Yes, of course. Without it, you might never have reached the solution. And if the unhappy woman hadn't been short-sighted, she might have found a way to the back door and made her escape.
Yes, you're asked to believe that without her pince nez, she left the house and walked along that narrow strip of grass, never making one false step. I called it a remarkable performance. I should have said an impossible one. Yes, I therefore reached the conclusion that she must have remained within the house. When I realized the similarity between the two corridors, it became clear that she had entered the professor's room.
Ah, yes. I seem to remember when we left the study, you took a few steps in the wrong direction yourself, didn't you?
Well, some may have done. It was an easy mistake to make. Yes, but thank you for reminding me, Watson.
Oh, don't mention it. There's only one small point I don't quite understand.
Really? What's that?
How did you know about the secret hiding place?
I didn't know. But I examined the room carefully and saw that although there were piles of books everywhere else on the floor, a space had been left clear in front of the tall bookcase. So I smoked as many cigarettes as possible and scattered the ash. It was a simple trick, but effective. And when we returned after lunch, I saw from the traces on the carpet that in our absence the lady had come out of her retreat.
Poor creature. I suppose she couldn't face the ordeal ahead of her in London. No doubt when she heard the train coming, she decided to take her own life.
I think she'd been planning it for some time. It was her husband who unwittingly put the idea into her head. When he talked of Anna Karenina, knowing she could hear everything he said, he couldn't resist the chance to vilify the heroine, the faithless wife, the worthless creature. If he'd troubled to finish reading the novel, he'd have known that in the closing page, Anna throws herself under a train.
I did my best to stop her, but...
She was quite determined. At this moment, Hopkins will be at Scotland Yard, making his report, doing his duty, and tomorrow we must do ours.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow, Watson, you and I will drive together to the Russian embassy so that, God willing, an innocent man may be set free.
In The Golden Pince-Nez, Sherlock Holmes was played by Clive Merrison and Dr. Watson by Michael Williams, with Maurice Denham as Professor Coram and Maureen O'Brien as the strange lady. Inspector Hopkins was played by Andrew Wincott, Mrs. Marker by Linda Polan, Susan Tarleton by Federe Holmes, and Constable Langdon by James Telfer. The violinist was Leonard Friedman. The Golden Pince-Nez was dramatized for radio by Peter Ling and directed by Enid Williams.